May the Holy One show us the light we seek. Give us the strong aid of their compassion and their wisdom. There is a peace that passeth all understanding. It abides in the hearts of those who live in the eternal. There is a power that maketh all things new, and it lives and moves in those who know the self as one. May that peace brood over us and that power uplift us until we stand where the one initiator is invoked, until we see that star shine forth. As part of my plan, my personal plan for 2025, I just knew I had to do a series of 4 talks. Sometime later, weeks later, the titles of the talks came to me all together. Shadow, Sita, Shakta, Spanda, just like that. Sometime later, weeks more, the title of the series came to me, Verities of Being. I didn't know much more than that. I mean, I knew the individual elements, of course, and I knew how they could fit together thematically, but I didn't have any feeling for the organic structure of the series of talks itself. I knew with certainty there was such an organic structure. It just hadn't revealed itself to me yet. By the time I was preparing the third talk, I could finally see the grand architecture of it, how it all flowed together. It's hard to explain, but it's different. Previous uh, experience, I would design a series of talks, and the talks flowed into a book. In this case, it was kind of the inverse, although what was flowing into talks, it was what was already done hadn't revealed itself to me yet, and I was getting it piece by piece. Different. Anyway, now here we are, the fourth and final talk in this series. And when I chose the date for the fourth and final talk in this series, September 21st, I chose it because it's the day after my birthday and a powerful time for me personally. I wasn't thinking about anything. I just felt that was the date. I did not realize that the September new moon, along with a partial solar eclipse in Virgo, would occur this evening, literally in the last couple of hours. I hadn't realized that the autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere would occur the Monday following, the next day. I hadn't realized that Navratri, the 9 nights of Durga, would start the next day. I didn't realize that Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, would start the next day. All powerful, mystical events which resonate uh, deeply with me. Indeed, the great wheel turns, and we turn with it. It is therefore to me meaningful, very meaningful, that we are all here together for this fourth and final talk in this series. Verity, verities, in particular, that second definition there, something such as a statement that is true, especially true, a fundamental and inevitably true value. Yeah. 25,000 plus words, 85 PowerPoint slides, 10 goddesses, Shakti, Nyx, night, the goddess night, Gaia, Pachamama, Sophia, Kali, Hecate, Yamoja, Isis, Astarte, plus Adnare, their own category. 6 women mystics, occultists, saints, Lakshman Kara, Mother Krishnabai, Mirabai, Lala Dev, Vak Abrini, and H.P. Blavatsky. 14 writers, philosophers, and performers. Lana Del Rey, Walt Whitman, Alice Coltrane, Toni Morrison, Audre Lorde, Joan Didion, Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Anne Lamott, Sally Kempton, Margaret Atwood, Philip Pullman, Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Soren Kierkegaard. The work of 6 artists, 5 of them women, Hilma af Klint, Tamara D. Lempicka, Remedios Varo, Dorothea Tanning, Frida Kahlo, and Anish Kapoor. 20 plus cultural artifacts, books, movies, TV series. Ashley Montague's touching Between Heaven and Earth, a marvelous book on Chinese medicine, Jung's Red Book, Jung's Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, the Shiva Sutras, the Vedanta Bhairava, the Spanda Karikas, Legends of the Mahasiddhas, Keith Bauman, Guru's Grace, Uses of the erotic as power, His Dark Materials, Secret Doctrine, Handmaid's Tale, Man in the High Castle, Wheel of Time, Baraka, Golden Compass, Andor, Rogue One, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel Multiverse, Maleficent, one radio show, The Shadow, and one tarot card, the number 8, Strength. That's the inventory. Are they for influences and references? This statue is the goddess Sophia, goddess of wisdom. Sophia, as in Theosophia, divine wisdom. She towers over a main thoroughfare in Sofia, Bulgaria, and I stood before her. Very powerful moment. I stood before her when I was in Sofia. Um, I was there to deliver a briefing on cyber war and cyber terror at a NATO conference, which was being held in Sofia, Bulgaria at that time. I felt to make her part of this presentation, so you'll see her appear throughout each of the 4 talks and throughout this final talk and through the other. Meaning, so a dictionary definition of shadow, even one that has a component for the psychological use of the term, really wouldn't get to what I'm trying to um, indicate we're talking about here. So I just took this uh, strong quote from Jung, which is a favorite. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side. Also, I must have a dark side also, if I am to be whole. CD, power, CDs, power, plural. Sita, a powerful being, a being with power. Shakti, divine power, cosmic energy, the goddess. Shakta, a being whose practice centers on the divine power, or a being whose practice uh, comes through the divine power, or a being whose practice is uh, serving as a portal of that divine power. Shakta. Spanda, the divine pulsation. Spanda. Oh. In the first talk, Shadow, we discussed the table of erroneous correspondences. We discussed Jung's shadow. We discussed what I call the scintillant deep. We discussed what I refer to as your edge, and we discussed the nature of evil, what it is. For our purposes tonight, just in this overview as we get to the denouement, as it were, I'll just touch on what I mean, briefly touch on what I mean by the table of erroneous correspondences. It's something I've been writing and talking about since the beginning of this journey. So really, male, sky, sun, yang, white, active, female, moon, earth, yin, black, passive. Seriously, this this is the 21st century, and the yin and yang has come to us from the ancient future. It is deserving of a deeper, richer, truer telling than the table of erroneous correspondences offers. Sun as male and moon as female. Really? I suggest that the sun should be seen as a great bonfire, not male, genderless, or maybe even gender fluid. I suggest that all the planets and moons circling this bonfire are goddesses, should be seen and experienced as goddesses, male as active and female as passive. Really? Do I really have to break down what's wrong with this? I mean, if you want to be kind, you could say it's tired, it's limited, but to be blunt, I say it's oppressive and relic of the subjugation of women and the disappearing of the deep feminine. Male as white and female as black. Are you seeing it now? The insipidness of it all. It lines up all too neatly with another false correspondence. White as good and black as evil. There it is. Misogyny and racism lurk in all of these false correspondences. Ironic, isn't it, that evil so often garbs itself in white while projecting itself on the black and vilifying the black. But evil has no color. It is neither black, yin, nor white, yang. It is colorless. It is not part of life. It is indeed, as I say, anti-life. Spell live backwards. It spells evil. The shadow, the darkness, is a lush, vibrant, fecund realm. Yes, there are bad neighborhoods within the shadow, but there are also art colonies and witches' covens thriving there. So much of our creative so much of our creativity, our creative life arises from the darkness. So much of our sexuality, too. So much of what we experience as beauty. So much of our aesthetics. Mystery itself has its nest in shadow. I call this shadow region, I call this shadow region the scintillant deep, the shadow region of the scintillant deep. There are also, well, consider this from the great Audre Lorde, self proclaimed Black lesbian mother, warrior, poet. I describe her that way because that is the way she chose to be described in her life. Quote, these places of possibility within ourselves are dark because they are ancient and hidden. They have survived and grown strong through that darkness. Within these deep places, each one of us holds an incredible reserve of creativity and power, of unexamined and unrecorded emotion and feeling. The woman's place of power within each of us is neither white nor surface. It is dark, it is ancient, and it is deep. This talk, this part one, Shadow, the first talk in this series, is a reclaiming of vast swaths of darkness and shadow, a reclaiming, a celebration, a restoration, a rebuttal to slander, a reaffirmation of the shadow's role as one of the verities of our being, an acknowledgement of its true scope and function. Second talk, part two, Sita. Sita. I say Sita, not CD, because I'm emphasizing the person who has the power, not the power itself. Uh, the embodiment, the incarnate being, you as a Sita, us as Sitas, not the CD, but the Sita, the bearer of the power, right? So in Sita, I listed 8 Sitas, which I say are inborn, plug and play, hardwired CDs that we have celebrated, that have been ignored, that have not been understood to be powers. They're just taken for granted. They're integral to our being. They're essential to our primal nature. They are part of us. We don't develop them, they are. We come with them. This is how we have been provisioned for our journey. Laughter, sleep, touch, conscience, voice, creativity, sexuality, free will. I'll just touch on a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them briefly in this overview. Anne Lamott says, the writer Anne Lamott says, laughter is carbonated holiness. Laughter is carbonated holiness. And Soren Kierkegaard in Works of Love, 1847, says the relationship between the individual and God, the God relationship, is the conscience. The relationship between the individual and God, the God relationship is conscience. Of course, we draw a distinction. We draw a distinction between 2 kinds of humor when we explore laughter. The laughter CD, where there's the belly laugh, full body, verge of tears laugh. That's what we're naming a CD here, not the mean-spirited laugh. You can feel how different that laugh is inside your own body, how small the mean-spirited laugh is, how twisted and unnatural. Likewise, we also draw a distinction between 2 kinds of conscience. Conscience with a capital C, versus lowercase c consciousness. But of course, for millennia now, plural, a lowercase c model of conscience predicated on patriarchal values has been superimposed over this portal into our primal reality. In this era of the great shift, we are breaking through that rigid, skewed frame to reestablish a main line to the capital C consciousness. George, George Washington, by the way, called it celestial fire. The third of these inborn plug-and-play art I will touch upon very briefly in tonight's talk is sleep. Consider this provocative insight from Ramana Maharshi. Sleep is not ignorance. It is one's pure state. Wakefulness is not knowledge. It is ignorance. There is full awareness in sleep and total ignorance in waking. Provocative insight. Paradoxical in nature. And I'll add to it this passage from Words of Power. So in Words of Power, I went into deep sleep, dreaming, waking, deep sleep, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and for lack of a better word, they term fourth state. I went into all of that in depth. This is just a brief passage. So I want to leave you with the idea of what sleep is, of its multidimensional nature, and of its mystical nature, and the fact that no one taught you to do this. This is something that's natural to you. It is something that puts you directly in touch with the divine reality. The human reality and the divine reality meet, merge really, are absorbed into each other within the cycle of every 24 hours. They meet in deep sleep. On your way to deep sleep, you're going to get information. Going through the dreaming state, you're going to get information from various sources, various virtual computers that have been pumping, working on various problems and various agendas, some of which you haven't even seen with your own conscious mind. All in the subconscious. This is direct. This is immediate. This is our life. This is not somebody else's. Do not ever let anybody tell you you can't meditate. Or that's not the right way to meditate. Don't tell yourself, I can't meditate. Every night you lay down and for long enough or not long enough, you go to sleep and you enter the dreaming state and then you pass on to the deep sleep state. And Ramana is just telling you that that deep sleep state and samadhi are the same space. The only difference is the difference of how they're happening, what your physiological state is while they're happening, what is going on around you, or the awareness of what is going on around you, or the absence of awareness of what's going on around you. It's as if the divine dimension of mind. When you're in deep sleep, you're in the divine dimension of mind, but you're not aware of it with your conscious, with the conscious, the little ledge we walk back and forth on, the conscious part of our mind, what we call the waking part. When you're in samadhi, you're in the same space. You're in the same divine dimension of mind, but you have awareness of it all. I can't really say in that moment because time is not. Okay? So don't ever tell yourself you can't meditate because every night you're doing something in doing something that people dedicate their entire lives trying to achieve. You do it effortlessly, effortlessly. It's an effort sometimes to get asleep, but moving, once you're asleep, moving from dreaming into deep sleep, you're not flipping any toggles. It's happening naturally. Okay. This beautiful painting is from Tamara de la Pica. I touch on her life story briefly in part two, Sita. Yeah, uh, remarkable. A favorite painter of Madonna's, by the way. She collects works of this artist. Chalk in the series. Uh, Shakta, part two, part three, Shakta. Shakta on a range of subjects: chi, prana, Fohat, the Force, Tantra, and Bhakti, and Braka. Now, in the course of preparing talk on Shakta, well, consider this. Consider this passage, which I've extracted for you. I am the queen, the gatherer up of treasures. They know it not, yet I reside in the essence of the universe. I rouse and order battle for the people. I created earth and heaven and reside as their inner controller. On the world summit, I bring forth the sky father. I bring forth the sky father. My home is in the waters, in the ocean, as mother. Thence I pervade all existing creatures as their inner supreme self and manifest them with my body. I created all worlds at my will without any higher being and permeate and dwell within them. The eternal and infinite consciousness is I. It is my greatness dwelling in everything. This is Shakti talking to you from the Rig Vedas. Yes, the Rig Vedas. And the author of this particular Vedic text, Vak Abrini, a woman sage, not a rishi, a rishika. Marvelous. So why have I included the image of the aurora borealis in this talk? So in the first book of Philip Pullman's brilliant His Dark Materials trilogy, originally entitled Northern Lights, uh, he he mentions, well, he said the aurora borealis is integral to understanding the nature of the mystical substance, for lack of a more apt word than substance, that Pullman calls dust. Quote, the sight filled the northern sky. The immensity of it was scarcely conceivable. As if from heaven itself, great curtains of delicate light hung and trembled, pale green, rose pink, and as transparent as most fragile fabric. And at the bottom edge, a profound and fiery crimson, like the fires of hell. They swung and shimmered loosely with more grace than the most skillful dancer. Philip Pullman. Subtle Knife, one of the books in that trilogy. Well, fascinating that Blavatsky, when discussing the nature of Fohat, Oh, we also end up at the Aurora Borealis, also end up at the poles. So Fohat, cosmic energy. Shakta, really, cosmic energy. The energy behind, through all of the universe. Fohat talks about it at length in the Secret Doctrine and elsewhere. Well, but both Pullman, when he's talking about dust, and HPB, when he's what he calls dust, and when HPB is talking about what she calls fohad. Well, fohad is a word. Um, it's a word from before Sanskrit. It's a word from before. It's a word from the language before Sanskrit, the language before Tibetan. Fohad. But anyway, Pullman talking about dust, this mysterious substance beyond and within and through all of creation. And HBB, when talking about Fohat, this uh, cosmic energy behind, within, and through all of creation, they both end up at the North South Pole. They both end up at the poles talking about the Aurora Borealis because in the Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky says, quote, the agitation of the Fohatic forces at the two cold ends, north and south poles of the earth, which resulted in multicolored radiance at night, have in them several of the properties of akasha, ether, color, and sound as well. Sound is the characteristic of akasha, ether. It generates air, the property of which is touch, which by friction becomes the productive of color, which becomes productive of color and light. The agitation of the Fohatic forces at the two cold ends, north and south poles of the earth, result in a multicolored radiance at night, having in them several properties of akasha, ether, color, and sound as well. Oh, to be so Fohat, the veil slipping a little bit at at the poles, and revealing to us something of the nature of Fohat, of Shakti herself. Oh, to be cryptic, poetical, and literal all at once. At the poles, above the earth, but within our atmosphere, the veils slip and we glimpse the naked beauty of Shakti. In part three, I also touched on Bhakti and Tantra, in my view, the two most direct paths to an embodied enlightenment, not one without the other, both essential, embodiment and enlightenment. Now, some people are more comfortable with enlightenment. That works, but you can't blanketly dismiss whole bodies of teachings that are built on some version of enlightenment or one of its synonyms. I myself now prefer simply to say Shaktahood. Shaktahood. In part three, I also touched on Baraka, divine grace, divine blessing, as another medium through which we access Shakti and through which Shakti accesses us. Baraka has many delivery systems: satsang, presence; Shaktipat, touch; darshan, glance. Even in photos, Ramana's glance or Shivananda's signature, photos of Ramana's glance or Shivananda's signature carry Baraka, carry Guru's grace. Baraka infused artifacts, Baraka drenched spaces. This room, for example, it has been a place of satsang and a portal for decades now, and down the hill at the Native Sons building for many decades before that, a container still blessed, still blessing the furniture, the books, the artifacts, the archives, steeped and seeping. It's not dormant, it's silent, abiding power. It's palpable. Barack. So this fourth and final talk, part four, Spanda. This marvelous work of art, this sculpture of Anish Kapoor's, is he calls it Mother as Void. It says much more than I can possibly say about the divine dimension of our primal reality and of the universe itself. Oh, Varoshana, indigo blue of the midnight sky, all pervading voidness, Samantrabhadra personified in Varoshana, the Adi Buddha, the primordial, unborn, unshaped, unmodified, Dharma Kaya. Oh. So Spanda Kariga, okay, that was Joe, legendary sage, American sages Joe and Gwen Miller singing about the Dhyani Buddhas, specifically Varoshana, the Adi Buddha. Now I'm skipping back to Kashmir. Yes, this is renegade, bastardized. And I'm going back now to the Spanda Karikas, and I'm going to just read you a brief passage from Jayadeva Singh's commentary on the Spanda Karikas. Jayadeva Singh, by the way, I think I've mentioned it before in this talk, but he was a uh, musicologist and a theosophist, and he wrote excellent versions of Shiva Sutras, Spanda Karikas, Vijnana Bharava, and Pratyajna Hridayam. I know I'm mangling the Sanskrit, forgive me, but they're there. They're very technical, but they're definitive and powerful. So he says in the just going to take here a few sentences from his introduction to the first series of sutras within the sutra stanzas within the Spanda Karikas. Right? So the first verse of this section describes Spanda Shakti, represented by emergence and submergence of Shakti, the primal energy of Shiva. So I made this decision when I was just going to share. When I made this decision, I was just going to share these few sentences from the beginning of his commentary on the first of the three sections, I think it is, in the Spanda Karikas. I felt like it needed to be balanced with something, and I didn't know what that was going to be. And then I realized that it occurred to me, and oh my gosh, the three fundamental propositions of the secret doctrine, which Blavatsky uh, includes in the proem to the secret doctrine, they align with these excerpts I'm going to share with you. They align perfectly. So, first verse of this section describes Spanda Shakti, representing the emergence and submergence of Shakti, primal energy of Shiva. Okay. First fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine: an omnipresent, eternal, boundless, immutable principle on which all speculation is impossible, since it transcends the power of human conception and can only be dwarfed by any human expression or similitude. It is beyond the range and reach of thought. The second, according to Jayadeva Singh, the second verse says that the world is contained in Spanda principle and comes out of it. The world is contained in the Spanda principle and comes out of it. Being contained and coming out of are only limitations of the human language, indeed. We're pulsating here, emergence, submergence, submergence, submergence. And then the second fundamental problem, doctrine, which I submit to you as a commentary, running commentary on the Spanda Karika. The second verse of the Spanda Karika, the second fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine, the eternity of the universe in toto as a boundless plane. The appearance and disappearance of worlds is like the regular tidal ebb of flux and reflux. The appearance and disappearance of worlds is like a regular tidal ebb of flux and reflux. So to mirror these profound teachings on this slide, I put in the ancient Celtic symbol of the triune goddess, which is very important to me, and the three spirals, and the three spirals are many things. There can be interpreted in many ways. I suggest to you that this is one of the deepest meanings. The third verse of Spanda Karika maintains that even in the differing states, waking, dream, deep sleep, the Spanda principle remains the same as the invariable experience of all the states. You are the invariable experience of all the states. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep, they come and go cyclically, but you are you. And what you are is something very different than what you perceive yourself to be in the waking state until you actually fall awake in that waking state and come to a realization that what you really are is actually more like what you really are in the deep sleep state than what you are in what we imagine ourselves to be in the waking state. So that's the third verse of the Spanda Karika is now here's the third fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine. The fundamental identity of all souls within the universal oversoul, the latter being itself an aspect of the unknown root. It's a good title, Unknown Root. And the obligatory pilgrimage for every soul, the obligatory pilgrimage for every soul, a spark of the former through the cycle of incarnation or necessity, in accordance with cyclic and karmic law during the whole term. This is what Joe would say, used to say to us, everyone, you have to do it for yourself. No one can do it for you. Each of us experience has to take this pilgrimage ourselves. This third image, this little lightning speed tour through this Spanda, through first three sentences of the first three verses of the Spanda Karikas. This image is from Frida Kahlo, Love Embrace of the Universe. It's always been very important to me. I've used it in my talks and books before. referencing these deep subjects, occult subjects. So you see Frida, and she's holding poor Diego. She's holding, cradling poor Diego, and I don't know if it's a bullet wound or a bindi or both on his forehead, but she's holding him, and you can see she's being held. She, in turn, is being held by the one I call the dark green goddess. You could call her Gaia, you could call her Pachamama. And then the dark green goddess is being held, in turn, is being held by a vaster white goddess. You could imagine it to be Tara. There's other permutations, but and then that white goddess, healing goddess, is in turn being held by who is in turn being held by, who is in turn being held by, who is in turn being held by, right? The the Spanda, the divine dimension of our primal being and the primal being of the universe holds within it the universe. I would say the universe says, and within the universes hold all these galaxies. And the galaxies hold all these solar systems, and the solar systems hold all these planets. And on a few planets here and there's life held by that planet, the goddess of that planet, the goddess that is that planet. And then we ourselves hold within our nature the planet, each other, all the other species, the planet, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, the divine dimension of our primal reality and of the universes themselves, the all, the immutable, incomprehensible all that first fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine points us to. This is what we are. This is who we are. This is where we are. This is what is happening. In the deepest, truest sense of our reality. And we meet all life adversities and all of the pain and suffering and the challenges and all of it we meet. We can meet with this understanding from this vastness, from this unlimited power, clarity, joy, empathy. So, three images, I strung them together here to represent the first stanza, if you will, of the Spanda Karikas and the first fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine, the second verse of the Spanda Karikas and the second fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine, and the third verse of the Spanda Karikas and the third fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine. Anda. Macrocosm in the microcosm and the microcosm in the macrocosm. There she is again, Theosophia. So here we are at the end. Primal reality the pathless path, the lineage of no lineage, the emerging global wisdom tradition, Gaian politics, Gaian poetics, the ascendancy of the feminine, altruism and sustainability as spiritual and existential imperatives. These are themes that my work has focused on for the last 2+ decades. This right here, right now, this moment, this decade, and this next decade is a time of great trial and tribulation for our country and for our world. Life affirming, celebratory, empowering. I hope that's the experience that you take away from this current series of talks. I hope these 4 talks offer new perspective, new framing, new language, new vision. I have tried to show how you are right here, right now, a Siddha, a powerful being. I have tried to show how you are right here, right now, a Shakta, a being whose life is brimming with Shakti, with cosmic energy, the cosmic energy of the universe herself. My intention in this series of talks, I hope they endure in some way or another as an artifact of the ancient future, highlighting what it means to be truly human in the 21st century as we strive to bring on a green, woke, feminist civilization, which is what we need to survive as a species, as a civilization. What you are, what you are part of, how you have been provisioned for this journey, what you are capable of. I hope that these 4 talks contribute to your understanding, your answer to these questions for yourself and for those you love. Clear light is the source of light that lighteth every one of humankind that cometh into the world. It is the radiance of cosmic consciousness. Yogins realize it while still in the fleshly body, and all humans glimpse it at the moment of death. It is the light of the Buddha, the Christ, and all masters of life. And to the devotee in whom it shines unimpededly, it is the Guru and the deliverer. May the Lodge of the Heart be realized in this lifetime. Shaboom.